Hey guys, Jimbo here. So today I would like to go over the basic story of how I ended up finding out that I needed to have double jaw surgery. And this is like the basic, like the foundation of how I ended up in the position that I am today with the appliance and everything. Let's start back with like early 2017. I didn't really have a lot of issues, but I was just focusing on myself and trying to figure out some good ways to improve my posture since I've had posture issues my entire life. So I basically started working on that. I started doing some stretching that I found on YouTube, and that was helpful up until I had found out that stretching wasn't really going to do it. Since I had such bad posture for so long, I wasn't going to be able to fix it just by moving around. So at that point in mid 2018-ish, I basically went to go see a chiropractor, and the lady that I went to was adjusting my back, my upper back, my lower back, and everything. I had a lot of really positive experiences with that. So I was doing that for a while, up until about mid 2018. So for about a year and a half, I was focusing on my posture, and I got some really good results. But the problem is I started having some jaw pain and like some TMJ clicking and things like that. I had no idea that I had sleep apnea at this point. So I was just like, okay, well, maybe it's time for me to try and fix my weird underbite. It was like just around Christmas time, at the end of 2018, and I decided to go get a free scan for Invisalign because I was at one of the malls and they had like a place that was open, so I just walked in and they gave me a scan. So that is actually what you see. This is not from Invisalign. This is actually from Smile Direct because I had gotten a second quote. But this is basically what they showed me. They'll go through and they'll put this like plastic device in your mouth and kind of scan everything. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty simple process. And then so this is what it all looked like. This is my bite from the beginning. So you can see this is my upper jaw, and you can see how narrow everything is. Here is my lower, and yeah, you can see my teeth are, my lower is much wider, and you can see my teeth are sort of cocked in on my lowers just to try and meet up with my upper. After I had gotten the scan back, they had sent me an email and said, hey, your scan is ready to be reviewed by an orthodontist. And so I set up an orthodontist appointment with this guy who was a local orthodontist. So yeah, I scheduled the appointment. I went in, I talked with him, and he had the scans. They took a look at it and they were like, let's take some x-rays. So they took some x-rays, and this is all for free. This is just a free consultation. They gave me a quote and everything afterwards, but they did a couple x-rays and sat me down, pulled up the x-rays on the computer, and this is a side shot of my jaw here. So he looked at me and he said, he put his thumb right here and pushed my jaw back because he wanted to see if it was just a misplacement of my lower jaw or if it was another type of issue. And so after that, after he pushed back and said, yeah, no, we can't push it back really, and said, your upper jaw is super, super tiny. You would need double jaw surgery. And this is the first time I think I've shown you guys this x-ray, but there's a lot going on here, and it really helps to have a comparison. So I have a comparison here set up. Let's take a look here. So on the left here, I've got, this is me, and on the right here is a normal person. And this is like something that I believe is what's supposed to be normal. There's two things to note. First, he pointed out that there is basically no gap here between my jawbone and the back of my molars. Okay, now I have my wisdom tooth teeth removed on both the upper and the lower, so you can imagine how tight everything used to be. And then the other thing to note is the angle at which these front teeth here are for both the upper and the lower, and how crowded everything is. So if we take a look at the normal person here, you can see that the gap between the back of the jaw bone and the last molars are quite significantly different. It's a huge gap here. And then also on the front here, you can see that the teeth actually jut out at a much steeper angle than mine does. Now if you look at the profile of my face, okay, you can see that my nose, comes out quite a bit comparatively to that person's nose here. Now, sure, that's genetics and all that stuff, but I'm supposed to have this where this point here of my forehead is and when you go straight down, there's supposed to be quite a forward offset. That's how it's supposed to look. You can see his teeth, I'm sorry, his lips right out here. Now if you take a look at mine, when you come here from the brow and then come down, there's actually a gap. So everything is slammed back, and that is why I have an underbite, is because my upper jaw is super tiny. And not only it's smashed back, and it's also very narrow from side to side. So yeah, this is actually the reason that I called my YouTube channel Smash Face Jimbo, is because basically my face has been pushed back and smashed flat. So the doc basically recommended that my only option was to get double jaw surgery, which would have been to do a year and a half of standard orthodontics like braces, get everything in the upper and lower to be kind of correct, and then I would have to do the surgery, which way they would cut here in the front here, and then on the side here, and then also on the other side. So I would have 1, 2, 3, and 4 cuts, and then so then they would just basically move everything out, and then magically somehow everything would grow back. And the problem with that is that when you cut all of that, what I've heard from other dentists is that the roots die, so you have a ton of teeth problems afterwards, which is something that they don't talk about, because these don't regenerate, because all of a sudden they've just disappeared. So when I started doing the research on all of that, that was one of the main reasons why I started looking into non-surgical approaches for relieving this sort of upper jaw constriction. And this was very eye-opening. I have to, this was quite shocking for me to find out that at the time it was my only option was to have double jaw surgery. It took me about 3 weeks of researching to find out that there were other options. And yeah, so that's the basic gist of what happened. And this is sort of like the underlying asset that I have to deal with. And when you first look at it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But when you have a comparison and you see how messed up this is, yeah, it definitely makes sense why I've had so many problems. So yeah, that's the basic gist of how I found out that I needed double jaw surgery. And from that, how I found out that I eventually had sleep apnea, and that I got the DNA appliance. And this video is already long enough, so I'm not going to talk about exactly how I found the DNA appliance, but this was the starting location. And it all basically, I got this information here, this one shot, from me just trying to improve my posture. So it's kind of an oddball way of figuring it out, but I don't know. That's just how it happened. So yeah, that's the basic deal.